Well, welcome to another edition of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. And I've been thinking about the first question I'm going to ask this gentleman today. But first, I'd like to say congrats, sir, for you and yours on that nomination. That elusive nomination for Foreigner, Mr. Jeff Pilson. How are you?
Great. And thank you.
Sorry.
I said, and thank you.
Well, long overdue. I mean, when Paul McCartney comes out and says they're not in the Hall of Fame, I mean, something's right. I'm thinking a guy such as yourself needs to write some sort of book on how to time management or to manage a calendar, because I don't know how you do it. All the projects you have on the go, all the touring, you've got to be the most efficient people with the management of your calendar that I've seen out there. How do you put all this together?
Well, it takes organizing. And I do my best. I mean, I love music, so I make the time to make it. And I mean, I have an understanding family, I have supportive friends, and I have a love of music that drives me forward and makes me just try and utilize every moment I can.
So, I mean, we've said the name Jeff Pilson. Obviously, we think Doc and we think of Foreigner. But, I mean, you've had Black Swan. You've had the new project, The End Machine, countless other projects. You seem to be the guy that just takes advantage of his network, but I think is easy to work with. Is that a fair statement? Because you're also is a statement that you're an easygoing guy to work with and you show up prepared?
Well, I like to show up prepared. Yes. I think I'm an easy guy to work with. I mean, I think I'm fun to work with because I really enjoy the process, and I think that makes other people enjoy it as well. I don't believe in making, I mean, if music is no fun to make, it's going to be not as fun to listen to in my mind. I mean, it's an energy that transmits, and if the right energy isn't there, I don't feel right about it. And so I go into it with the idea of putting out the best energy possible. And that's generally a very fun thing. And so, probably fun to work with, I hope.
Well, I talked to Joey Allen the other day because you produced the Warren album a few years back, and he talked about how the process with you was fun for starters. I mean, there's a band that hadn't put anything out in quite some time. And that was a kick-ass album. So I'd like to ask you your process of recording, because there's so many different types of technologies now, but these different projects you have, and you're out there playing so many dates with Foreigner, and it's not a retirement. You're just backing off of all the heavy dates. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, we're just not going to be out there on the road 9 months of the year, constantly bashing it out. We'll be a little more selective about things, so we won't go on full-on tours per se, 9-month tours. But yeah, we'll still be out there. And there's some music that I'd like to finish if possible, that we have floating around. That would be great to come out.
Okay, so I heard the first track off the new End Machine album, and my first thought was, wow, it had that Dawkins-esque kind of mid 80s. I do a little bit of reading that, you guys are unapologetically kind of going for that sound. What do you think that music still, I guess, holds up today? Because, you have the Monsters of Rock cruises, you have all these festivals that take place, you have people that are still out there playing, different incarnations of bands and what have you. But why do you think that music is still, I guess, resonating with people?
Well, I mean, I think it was quality music. I mean, that's one thing, and quality music tends to stand the test of time. But, I mean, for whatever reason, people, and certainly at that period of time, I think people connected with the music in ways that I think it's harder for people to connect with music now, that comes out, because it's so multimedia and it's so, you hear it on your phone, it's not just about the music anymore. So, and it was still about video and other things in the 80s and image and whatnot, but it wasn't as spread out as it is, you know. I mean, it was still more about the music and the bands, and I just think it connected with people better than, I mean, some music today connects with people, obviously, but on a widespread level, I think it becomes a little more diluted because it's so multimedia. It's so not. Uh, it doesn't have that intimate quality. I think music had once upon a time, and that's what I think is missing.
Well, everybody's trying to be the viral superstar, right? Like I've done a number of these interviews, and you do one, you think it's going to go great, and then some guy feeds raccoons on his back deck, and it goes viral. I mean, you just never know what's going to resonate with somebody, right?
Exactly.
But when you're doing these projects, are you to the point now where it's like, okay, we got to put this out and have it do something, or is it just a labor of love and you just want to get it out because you have songs you want people to hear, and if it sticks with somebody, great. If it doesn't, hey, that's fine too.
I'd say it's closer to the latter. You know, we we all know that you're not going to have the kind of sales figures you had in the 1980s. It's just
Right.
not. It doesn't happen. The infrastructure isn't even there for that to happen now. I mean, you had rock radio back then, huge, you know, and MTV, of course, and you had all these huge national um, sources for people to get music at that really were efficient, really got the music out there. Now it's a whole different thing. So, you know, it's about social media and whatnot. So it's on a smaller level. So the expectation isn't to sell huge units. I mean, we want to connect with the people that are going to hear it, you know, and we try and do our best. That's why, you know, I do promotion and all that kind of stuff because we want as many people as possible to hear it. Um, but yeah, it's not about the numbers as much as it is about just getting the music out there, connecting with people as much as we can. And yes, it's a labor of love.
Well, I mean, now everything's so instantaneous. I remember growing up, listening to Doc, and I mean, somewhere there's probably a tape of my old high school band playing Alone Again way too fast. You know what I mean? Like it used to be. But we would see you guys in the videos. Rarely would we see concerts because, if we couldn't go and see live, there wasn't a lot of actual video. And now it just seems like everything's instantaneous.
Right. Well, and those are the kinds of things that change. I mean, I think that pulls a little bit of the mystique out of it too. There was a
Right.
mystique about bands that I think is a little bit lost these days.
So how do you get everybody corralled together to record a project like this where everybody's doing different things? Yourself, George. I know Steve plays with Tesla, and the singer I read is he doesn't even live in the States. Is that fair?
That's correct. He lives in India. How do we do that? Well, there's the internet.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
big But no, George and Steve recorded at my studio. So you know, there's we still try and collaborate in person as much as possible. I mean, sometimes you have to use mobile things, but with the M machine, the only thing that was mobile was Garish, and I like as much personal contact as possible. I think it's still better when you collaborate together.
Um, so when you're doing vocals, for example, you would have a live feed in your coach room, or is he just sending you tracks and you're kind of going back and forth on, email and text?
Correct. Yeah, yeah, that's how I mean, we discuss it beforehand. He generally sends a first draft of his lyrics and melody ideas. And then we kind of go from there. You know, sometimes what he does, he nails it right away. Sometimes it needs some suggestions. There were a few occasions on this record where we had to do rewrites. But he rose to the occasion, and it isn't as easy doing it that way. I mean, it's a little more immediate when you're in the room together, but we still got great results, and he's a great writer, and obviously, you know, a singer with limitless abilities and range. So, you know, it worked out well.
Well, and I mean, you've been, I guess, I hate the word lucky. Lucky implies that, there's some mystical force. Fortunate's a little, I think, the word I like, but you've been fortunate to work with some singers, and yourself, you're a singer kind of a higher range. You used to do a lot of the harmonies and still do. You prefer to work with somebody that has, I guess, unlimited range as opposed to somebody that's maybe a little bit and limiting.
You cut out right when you were sort of making the meat of that question. So
Well,
was
so I said, so your preference would be to work with somebody that's has the higher range and more depth and ability than maybe somebody that has a lower register that you can't do as much with. Would that be your preference in terms of working with a singer?
Well, it's not about range really. It's about quality of voice. I of course I'd always prefer to work with a better singer. That's
Right.
always going to be the case. But it doesn't matter whether it's high or low range. It's about the performance. It's about whatever. It's about them delivering and selling the song.
So I'd be interested on your production side. So you do the end machine, and obviously you're in a room with you've worked with George for quite a while. Um, how do you? I mean, I'm going to guess he's going to know if he's not playing something that's George Lynch level. But how do you, if you're hearing something, how do you relay that feedback to him to say, yeah, you know what, we need another take, and how does he take it?
We know each other so well. Most of the time we agree right away, but I mean he's great when we record. He likes it when I kind of just when I'm kind of the one that determines, well, oh yep, that was great. Obviously he's got to agree with me, but 9 times out of 10, if he's playing and I'm saying, oh yeah, that, whatever, 9 times out of 10, at the end of the day, we'll be agreeing. So, yeah, it's a really smooth process. And I mean, see, and we can be brutal with one another because we've known each other forever. So, I mean, we cut to the chase.
For sure. One thing I want to ask you, because I'd like to ask people, especially at your level of this, but it's the, I guess, the concept of networking and how projects come together. And where I live, sometimes people don't buy into the networking piece. They think that you play and play and play and get good, and you go and audition for everything, and the best man wins or the best woman wins. I've talked to some other people where they don't even ask. They ask their group, who's the best person for us, and they just go and get the people. I'd be interested to hear your take on networking in the music business, and what you think its importance is.
Wow. Um, I don't, I kind of don't. I don't think I do. I mean, I guess I network in my own ways, but I guess it's something I haven't thought a lot about. Because I tend to fall into the situations that I'm in. I mean, my feeling is whatever it takes to communicate, I mean, if people want to network, I think that's great. Um, like I say, it's not something I do a lot of, so I guess I don't have much thought on that.
No, that's fair. And I mean, everybody's in a different sort of spot in their path, right? Um, so in terms of, or is this a project that's going to be a project, a record project, and you're going to put it out, and will there be any shows around it, or do you think that there will be that opportunity?
Well, we'd like to, and there's certainly pressure to. I'm actually trying to figure out a way that we can do something later on in the year, and I'm hoping that can happen. But it's really tough. The logistics for things like this are very, very difficult, especially with everyone's schedule. But having said that, my schedule is going to start opening up in 2025, as will George's. So maybe we can do something. I'm kind of hoping.
I just have a vision where you get on the phone June 2nd at 3 o'clock, and between 3 and 7, I've got 2 hours. Can you guys get together and do a
Well,
show? Or because I mean,
yeah, no,
you're
it's got to
action
be.
packed.
You got to carve out a lot more time than that if you're going to do shows.
Absolutely. Well, and to that end, so how long would a project like this, I guess, take from a planning perspective? Because again, if your schedules are all over the place, it can't just be pick up the phone one day. Are we talking a year out, year and a half out, longer?
To plan shows? Well, no, but I wouldn't say a year, but several months, absolutely. And then you have to carve time. You got to rehearse. I mean, we got to
Right.
get together and play. Can't just go up and do a show, cold. So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't give you a specific time. It's not about the length of time. It's about how much time you get to do the important things like rehearse and generally, if you're gonna like say if you're gonna film a show, it's nice if you're doing more than one show because what are
Right.
the odds that your first show is going to be great? So again, it's about how much time can you get together and actually make it happen. And then, yeah, you need time. What you need, the reason you need months is because everybody's got to coordinate their schedules so that they can set up that little carve out that little chunk of time, and that's difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, every time I think about you in the process, it's just where does he find the time? Does he have any time to drive his car somewhere or go see friends or what? It just seems like you're always doing something, but it always seems to be something that you enjoy. I don't get the feeling that you're doing it to kind of check a box or push a rock.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's my first love, music. It is. I mean, well, obviously, my family is my priority, but I mean, music is my passion, and the fact that I get to do so much of it is, I just look at it as a blessing. So I'm not worried about it.
So the old clock's ticking on the Foreigner machine, kind of getting ready to not play as many dates. When were the last series of dates for you guys on the big run before you kind of decide that it's going to be specialty gigs and that type of thing?
Well, the end of this year is we're doing two residencies in Vegas this year. We're doing one coming up in a couple weeks at the end of March and early April, and then we're doing another one in late October, early November, and that will be the final run of this year. So I think that ends around November 10th or 11th or something like that. And then yeah, that's it for this year. And then from now then on, it'll be more select. Yeah.
So, is there talk or chatter amongst you guys of that, or is you're still so much in the grind of it that it's really not? It's too far out, and you're not really focusing on it. You're just getting through the next series of shows. How does Foreigner approach that? As they're getting ready to wind her down.
Well, I mean, we had this tour scheduled, and then from then on, it's just select dates. So we're not trying to figure out when's the very last show or anything like that. We're just kind of taking it as it comes. This year is already booked, so now it's about booking whatever we do for next year.
And I'm sure you're going to get your avatars ready and stuff for that last show there to launch.
We don't know when that'll be. We're not even thinking about that.
just a little fun thing at my favorite band. So last question there, Mr. Pilson, because I know you're a busy man here today. So this the End Machine. Where can my viewers find out more about it? Where can they get it? The typical questions that one would ask.
Certainly the Frontiers music site, but I believe you can get M Machine on all the Apple Music and all that kind of stuff. I believe that's available everywhere. You can find the real Jeff Pilson on Instagram and Twitter, and the Jeff Pilson fan page on Facebook. That's a great place to get information. So, yeah, those are your main outlets.
And your promotion company is fantastic. They got back to me within probably 2 hours of my initial contact. So
yeah,
kudos to them.
Really good, and we're very happy with that.
Sir, I want to thank you for this. I know it's a weird time in the middle of the day and you're out in the West Coast, but I really appreciate your time. Best of luck with this project. Best of luck with Foreigner. Best of luck, and hopefully the you guys get in, because it's definitely well deserved.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you can go to the I think it's the Rock Hall website, something like that, and you can vote every day. So vote for Foreigner, because the original band definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
No question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.